6 bioluminescent predators, 300 alien cadets, total chaos in the cafeteria. Then one human girl cleared her throat, and every deadly creature froze. They scattered across tables, stealing food, scratching warriors, until she called them, and they came running like puppies. That's when everyone realized Earth doesn't just produce survivors, it produces masters of monsters. The cafeteria of Sentinel Station buzzed with the usual midday chaos. 300 cadets from 17 different species packed into the sprawling dining hall, their conversations creating a symphony of clicks, chirps, growls, and actual words. Maya Cross sat alone at a corner table, methodically working through her protein pack while scrolling through tactical assessments on her datapad. She had learned early that solitude beat forced conversation. "Hey, Deathworlder." Maya didn't look up. The voice belonged to Krell, a Vaxian whose purple scales always seemed to shimmer with misplaced confidence. His buddies flanked him, 3 other reptilian cadets who thought intimidation was a personality. "That seat's taken," Krell announced, even though Maya's table had 5 empty chairs. "No, it's not," Maya said calmly, still reading. "It is now." Krell slammed his tray down, sending a splash of blue nutrient gel across Maya's datapad. She finally looked up. Her gray eyes held the kind of stillness that made predators nervous, though Krell was too stupid to notice. "You're in my light," she said. Krell laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "Your light? Everything here belongs to whoever's strong enough to claim it. That's how the galaxy works, human." Maya set down her protein pack with deliberate care. "And I guess we'll find out who's stronger." "Tomorrow's combat trials," Krell sneered. "I'm going to enjoy teaching you some respect. Looking forward to it." The Vaxian hesitated, apparently expecting more resistance. When Maya simply returned to her datapad, wiping off the gel with her sleeve, he stomped away with his entourage. Across the cafeteria, Captain Thorne observed the exchange from the instructor's platform. The Centauran officer's 4 eyes tracked Maya with unconcealed interest. Humans were rare at Sentinel Station. This one was particularly unusual. "She's going to be trouble," muttered Lieutenant Voss, a towering Krellix whose chitinous armor gleamed under the overhead lights. "Or she's going to be extraordinary," Thorne replied. The afternoon training session took place in the zero-gravity combat sphere, a massive translucent dome where cadets practiced 3-dimensional warfare. Maya floated near the designated human zone, a section with adjusted oxygen levels and temperature controls. The station's environmental system struggled to accommodate Earth-adapted physiology. "All right, you larvae," Boris barked through the comm system. "Today's exercise tests your ability to maintain formation while under fire. You'll be divided into squads of 5. Fail to protect your teammates and you all fail." Maya found herself grouped with 4 aliens she barely knew. There was Xena, a willowy sylphid whose translucent skin glowed faintly blue. Wretch, a stocky Grummite whose tusks protruded from his lower jaw. Quinn, a feathered Avix, whose wings were folded tightly against her back. And Jace, another human. "Thank God," Jace muttered, floating closer to Maya. "I thought I was the only one." Maya studied him. Young, probably 20 standard years, with the eager eyes of someone who still believed in galactic unity. "Don't get attached," she said. "Wow. Friendly." The simulation began before he could elaborate. Holographic projectiles streaked through the sphere, forcing the squads to maneuver while maintaining their defensive formations. Maya's team struggled immediately. Xena panicked, breaking formation to dodge a blast that wasn't even targeted at her. Ratch overcorrected, slamming into Quinn and sending them both spinning. "Tighten up," Maya commanded, her voice cutting through their comms. "Who made you leader?" Ratch growled. "Physics. I'm the only one not flailing." Maya grabbed Xena's arm as the sylphid floated past, pulling her back into position. "Xena, watch your breathing. You're hyperventilating." "Quinn, use your wings for micro-adjustments, not full propulsion." "Rich, stop trying to muscle your way through 0G. Jace, cover our 6. Something in her tone made them listen. The squad's movements smoothed out. They began anticipating each other's positions, creating overlapping fields of coverage. By the time the simulation ended, they had scored in the top 3. Boris's voice crackled through the comms. "Acceptable. Squad 7, you're dismissed." As they exited the sphere, Jace caught up with Maya in the corridor. "That was impressive. You've done this before?" "Something like it. Come on, you can't just drop tactical expertise like that and not explain. Where'd you train?" Maya stopped walking. Look, I appreciate the curiosity, but I'm here to learn, not make friends. Everybody needs allies. At Sentinel, then you should find some. She left him standing there, confused and slightly hurt. Maya didn't enjoy being cold, but attachment created vulnerabilities. She had learned that lesson in Blood and Ash. The following morning brought the combat trials. The arena was packed with spectators, cadets eager to watch their peers get pummeled. Maya stood in the preparation chamber, wrapping her hands with compression tape. The material was standard issue, designed to protect knuckles during hand-to-hand combat. Krell entered the chamber on the opposite side, surrounded by his cheering section. He pointed at Maya through the transparent barrier, making a throat-slitting gesture. "Charming," Maya muttered. The arena itself was a circular platform suspended over a 50-meter drop into a foam pit. The rules were simple. Knock your opponent off the platform or force a submission. Lethal force was prohibited, but injuries were expected. Maya stepped onto the platform. The crowd's noise swelled, a mix of jeers and scattered applause. Humans weren't popular at Sentinel. They were too new, too unpredictable, and they came from a planet that terrified most galactic citizens. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world, a designation reserved for planets where nearly everything evolved to kill. The fact that humans not only survived but thrived there made other species nervous. Krell cracked his knuckles, each pop echoing through the arena. "I'm going to enjoy this, mammal. You talk a lot for someone who hasn't thrown a punch yet," Maya replied. The bell chimed. Krell charged immediately, relying on his superior mass and reach. His first swing could have shattered concrete. Maya wasn't there. She slipped inside his guard, driving her elbow into his solar plexus. The Vaxian's breath exploded outward. Before he could recover, Maya swept his leg and sent him crashing onto his back. The crowd went silent. Krell rolled to his feet, rage replacing confidence. He attacked with more caution this time, throwing measured strikes designed to corner her. Maya deflected, dodged, and countered with surgical precision. Every movement was economical, wasting no energy. "Stand still," Krell snarled. "Make me." He lunged with both arms outstretched, trying to grapple. Maya dropped low, drove her shoulder into his midsection, and used his momentum to flip him over her back. Krell sailed through the air and slammed onto the platform hard enough to crack scales. This time he stayed down. The referee, a neutral Centauran official, began the 10 count. Krell struggled to his feet at 7, but his movements were sluggish. Maya could have pressed the attack, finished him. Instead, she waited, hands loose at her sides. "Come on," she said quietly. "Get up." Krell charged one last time, desperation overriding strategy. Maya sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and redirected his momentum toward the edge. The Vaxian's own weight carried him over. He plummeted into the foam pit with a satisfying thud. The arena erupted. Half the crowd cheered. The other half looked like they'd witnessed an execution. Maya left the platform without acknowledging either side. That evening she found the predator cubs. The ventilation shaft near her quarters had been making strange noises for 3 days. Most cadets ignored it, assuming the station's systems were just old. Maya investigated because ignoring problems was how people died. She pried open the access panel and aimed her wrist light into the darkness. 6 pairs of luminous eyes stared back. "Well," Maya said, "that's new." The creatures looked like a genetic experiment gone adorably wrong. They had the basic body plan of Earth felines, but their fur shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Each one was roughly the size of a house cat, with oversized paws and ears that swiveled independently. One of them chirped. The sound was somewhere between a bird and a kitten. "You're not supposed to be here," Maya told them. The boldest cub crept forward, sniffing cautiously. Its whiskers twitched. Maya extended her hand slowly, letting it catch her scent. After a moment's consideration, the cub bumped its head against her palm. "Of course you're friendly," Maya sighed. "That's just my luck." She spent the next hour researching station records. The cubs were Lyraxes, native to a jungle moon in the Sirius sector. They were classified as non-sentient but highly intelligent, with pack-hunting instincts and an unfortunate tendency to imprint on anyone who fed them. Someone had brought them aboard illegally, probably intending to sell them on the black market. When that fell through, they'd been abandoned in the station's infrastructure. Maya returned to the ventilation shaft with a pack of synthesized meat from the cafeteria. The cubs devoured it, their purring creating a strange harmonic resonance. "This doesn't mean we're friends," she warned them. They didn't care. By the end of the week, the Lyrax cubs had claimed Maya's quarters as their territory. They slept in a pile on her bunk, played with her gear, and followed her through the corridors whenever she left her door open. Jace found her one afternoon trying to teach them not to chew on data cables. "You've got to be kidding me," he said, staring at the cubs. "Not a word," Maya replied, gently prying a cable from a cob's mouth.
Are those Lyraxes?
"Do you have any idea how illegal this is?" "Yep, and you're keeping them anyway." They were starving. What was I supposed to do? Jace sat down on the floor. Immediately 3 cubs swarmed him, climbing onto his lap and purring. He laughed despite himself. "They're kind of amazing. They're menaces. Yesterday one of them figured out how to open supply lockers. Smart menaces." The cubs became a fixture of Maya's routine. She fed them, trained them to stay hidden during inspections, and quietly enjoyed their company. They filled a space she hadn't realized was empty. Then came the incident in the cafeteria. Maya was sitting at her usual table, the cubs hidden in a modified cargo bag at her feet, when Krell's crew decided to test the station's anti-bullying protocols. They started with verbal harassment, escalated to accidentally knocking over trays, and finally surrounded a pair of first-year cadets who looked ready to cry. The cubs sensed the tension. One of them poked its head out of the bag, ears flat against its skull. "Stay," Maya whispered. But Lyraxes were predators, even adorable ones. When Krell shoved one of the younger cadets hard enough to send him sprawling, the cubs bolted from the bag. The cafeteria erupted into chaos. 6 bioluminescent furballs scattered in different directions, leaping onto tables and stealing food from unsuspecting cadets. They moved with liquid grace, too fast for most species to track. "What the hell are those?" someone shouted. Krell's crew tried to catch them, which proved to be a terrible mistake. Lyraxes might have been small, but they had claws like razors and reflexes that made them nearly impossible to grab. Within seconds, 3 Vaxians were sporting scratches and wounded pride. Maya stood slowly, the movement drawing every eye in the room. She cleared her throat. The sound was soft, barely audible over the chaos. But the cubs froze mid-scramble, their heads swiveling toward her in perfect unison. They chirped once, twice, and then bolted back to her position, climbing up her legs and perching on her shoulders like living epaulets. The cafeteria fell silent. "Sorry about that," Maya said calmly. "They get excited." Captain Thorne stepped forward from the instructor's platform, all 4 eyes fixed on the cubs. "Cadet Cross. My office." "Now." Maya nodded, gathered the cubs back into their bag, and followed the captain out of the cafeteria. Behind her, 300 cadets began whispering at once. In Thorne's office, Maya stood at attention while the Centurion officers studied the cubs, who were now sprawled across the desk like they owned it. "Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in?" Thorne asked. "Yes, sir. Unautorized biological specimens. Violation of quarantine protocols. Potential ecological contamination." "Yes, sir." Thorne leaned back. Compound eyes unreadable. "And yet you kept them anyway." "They were going to die, sir." "That's not your responsibility." Maya met the captain's gaze. "With respect, sir, it became my responsibility the moment I found them." Thorne was quiet for a long moment. Then one of the cubs chirped and rolled onto its back, exposing its belly. The captain's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "You've trained them." "Basic commands. They're smart. I can see that." Thorne scratched one cub behind its ear. "Here's what's going to happen, cadet. You're going to register these creatures as emotional support animals. Humans are authorized to keep such companions under Regulation 7-4. You'll also submit to weekly inspections to ensure they're not causing structural damage." Maya blinked. "Sir, consider it a warning, Cross. Don't make me regret this." "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." As Maya left the office, cubs secured in their bag, she allowed herself a small smile. Maybe Sentinel Station wasn't entirely hostile after all. That night, as she lay in her bunk with the cubs purring around her, her datapad chimed with an incoming message. It was from Jace. "Combat Trials, Round 2. Tomorrow you're facing Captain Thorne's personal champion. Good luck." Maya's smile faded. She pulled up the file on her opponent. The image showed a creature that made Krell look like a stuffed toy. It was a Thraxian juggernaut, 8 feet of bioengineered muscle and bone plating. Its record showed 73 consecutive victories, 12 of which had resulted in medical evacuation for its opponents. The match was scheduled for dawn, and as Maya stared at the brutal creature on her screen, one of the cubs nuzzled against her hand, oblivious to the violence waiting in the morning light. Dawn at Sentinel Station was artificial, a gradual brightening of overhead lights that simulated planetary sunrise. Maya woke to find all 6 cubs staring at her, their luminous eyes reflecting concern they couldn't possibly understand. "I'll be fine," she told them. They chirped skeptically. The pre-match briefing took place in a sterile conference room. Captain Thorne stood at the head of the table, flanked by Lieutenant Voss and 3 other senior instructors Maya didn't recognize. "This match is different from standard trials," Thorne began. "Gorath is not a cadet. He's a decorated combat instructor with planetary honors from the Thraxian military. This fight serves 2 purposes: evaluating your capabilities under extreme pressure and demonstrating to the other cadets what true combat looks like." Maya kept her expression neutral. "Understood, sir. You can forfeit at any time. There's no shame in—" "I'm not forfeiting." Thorne's compound eyes studied her. "Why did you really come to Sentinel Cross?" The question caught her off guard. "To learn, sir. Everyone here is learning. But you fight like someone who's already seen war." Maya's jaw tightened. "Permission to prepare for the match, sir." Thorne gestured toward the door. Dismissed. The arena was packed beyond capacity. Word of the match had spread through the station like wildfire. Cadets from every species crowded the observation decks, their excited chatter creating a constant buzz. Jace found Maya in the preparation chamber. "You don't have to do this." "Yeah, I do." "Why? What are you trying to prove?" Maya finished wrapping her hands, the compression tape tight enough to hurt. "That humans belong here, by getting yourself killed." She turned to face him, and something in her expression made him step back. "I've survived worse than Gorath. Trust me, I don't even know you." "Not really. You won't talk about where you came from or why you're here. How am I supposed to trust someone who won't?" "Then don't." Maya moved past him toward the arena entrance. "But watch anyway." The platform looked smaller today, the 50-meter drop more ominous. Maya stepped into the ring and immediately understood why Gorath had 73 victories. He wasn't just large, he was a weapon given form. Gray skin stretched over muscles that seemed carved from stone. His hands ended in claws that could punch through steel, and his eyes held the cold awareness of something that killed without hesitation or remorse. "Human," he rumbled, his voice like grinding tectonic plates. "Your species is unknown to me. That makes this interesting. Glad I could help with your education." The bell chimed. Gorath didn't charge like Krell had. He advanced methodically, cutting off angles, herding Maya toward the edge. Every step was calculated. Every movement conserved energy. Maya circled left, testing his reactions. Fast. Too fast for something his size. When she feinted high, he didn't take the bait. When she tried to slip past his guard, he was already there, blocking her path. "You're quick," Gorath observed. "But speed means nothing without strength." He struck without warning, a backhand that would have decapitated her if it connected. Maya dropped flat, rolled between his legs, and came up behind him. She drove her heel into the back of his knee. It was like kicking concrete. Gorath turned, unhurried. Interesting. This time when he attacked, it was with the efficiency of a professional. No wasted movement. No telegraphed strikes, just brutal clinical violence. Maya blocked what she could, dodged what she couldn't, and felt her forearms bruising from the impact of his blows. The crowd's cheering faded into white noise. Maya's world narrowed to Gorath's movements, to the rhythm of his attacks, to the microseconds between strikes where opportunities lived and died. She caught one of his punches at the wrist, using his momentum to pull herself close. Before he could react, she drove her forehead into his face. Gorath's head snapped back. Blood, surprisingly red, leaked from his nose. The arena went silent. "You broke my nose," he said almost admiringly. Then he smiled, revealing teeth like daggers. "Good." The fight escalated into something savage. Gorath stopped holding back, throwing combinations that could shatter bones. Maya abandoned defense in favor of counterattacks, trading damage for opportunities. Her ribs screamed, her vision blurred, but she kept moving, kept striking, kept refusing to fall. "Why won't you quit?" Gorath demanded, breathing hard now. "Because quitting is boring," Maya gasped. She saw the opening a heartbeat before it closed. Gorath's weight shifted wrong, his balance compromised by his own aggression. Maya dropped low, swept his legs, and when he fell she was already moving. She locked her arm around his throat, applying pressure to the carotid artery. For 5 eternal seconds, Gorath fought the choke. His strength was terrifying, nearly breaking her hold, but Maya adjusted, tightened, and poured every ounce of determination into maintaining the submission. Gorath's hand slapped the platform 3 times. The referee called the match. Maya released him immediately, rolling away and gasping for air. Every part of her body hurt, but she was standing. Gorath lay on the platform, one hand pressed to his throat, staring at her with something that might have been respect. The arena erupted in chaos. Some cadets cheered. Others looked horrified. All of them were talking at once, their voices creating a wall of sound that Maya barely registered. Captain Thorne descended to the platform, extending a hand to help her up. "That was remarkable, cadet." "Thank you, sir." Maya's voice came out rough, damaged, also incredibly stupid. "You're going to medical." Now, she didn't argue. The medical bay was quiet, sterile, and blessedly empty. The attending physician, a spidery arachnid named Dr. Kellex, ran scanners over Maya's injuries while making disapproving clicks. 3 cracked ribs, severe bruising across both forearms, minor concussion. "And your left hand is fractured in 2 places. Can you fix it?" "Of course I can fix it. The question is why you insist on breaking yourself in the first place." Maya didn't answer. She watched the scanner displays, seeing the damage rendered in colorful medical detail. It looked worse than it felt, which was saying something. "You're cleared for duty in 72 hours, Kellex announced. "Until then, light activity only. No combat training. No zero-G exercises. Just rest." "Understood." Back in her quarters, the cubs swarmed her immediately. They chirped in distress, their small paws patting her arms and face. One of them licked her bruised knuckles with a rough tongue. "I'm okay," Maya assured them. "Really?" They didn't believe her. For the rest of the evening they refused to leave her side, arranging themselves in a protective circle around her bunk. Jace visited an hour later, carrying a food container from the cafeteria. "Figured you'd be too beat up to grab dinner." "Thanks." He sat on the floor, careful not to disturb the cubs. "That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Half the station thinks you're insane. The other half thinks you're a legend. What do you think?" "I think you've got a death wish." He paused. "And I think there's a story you're not telling." Maya set down the food container. For a long moment, she considered staying silent. But Jace had been kind to her, and kindness deserved something in return. "I was a combat medic," she said quietly. 3 years in the Outer Rim conflicts. Most of that time was spent on a colony called Hebron. Never heard of it. Not many people have. It was small, remote, supposedly protected by treaty. Then the Kashari Dominion decided treaties were optional. Jace's expression shifted. Everyone knew about the Kashari, a militant empire that had been expanding aggressively for decades. What happened? They burned Hebron to ash, killed 90% of the colonists in the first wave. The rest of us held out for 16 days waiting for reinforcements that never came. Maya's voice was flat, reciting facts without emotion. "I watched people I'd saved die anyway. Watched children bleed out because we ran out of supplies. Watched the Kashari execute prisoners for sport. God, when Sentinel opened applications to non-military personnel, I applied immediately. Because if I'm going to survive the galaxy, I need to understand it. I need to know how to fight every species, how to think like them, how to beat them. So this is revenge? This is preparation." Maya met his eyes. "The Kashari are still out there. And one day I'm going to make sure they regret Hebron." Jace was quiet for a long time. Finally he said, "You're not going to do this alone, are you?" "I wasn't planning on it." "Good. Because you're stuck with me now." He stood, offering his hand. "Partners?" Maya shook it, feeling the weight of commitment settle between them. "Partners." The next morning brought an unexpected summons. Captain Thorne's message was brief. "Report to Conference Room 7, bring the cubs." Maya arrived to find not just Thorne, but Admiral Kessler, the station's commanding officer. The human woman was legendary, a veteran of the First Contact Wars who'd earned her rank through brilliance and brutality in equal measure. "Cadet Cross," Kessler said, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. "Your performance yesterday was noted by several parties, including the Galactic Defense Initiative. They've requested you for a special assignment." Maya felt her pulse quicken. "What kind of assignment, ma'am?" "Reconnaissance and rescue. There's a civilian research station in the Kepler sector that's gone dark. Standard protocol is to send a military team, but the sector is technically neutral territory. Sending uniformed soldiers could trigger a diplomatic incident, but sending cadets wouldn't. Sending cadets on a training exercise wouldn't, especially if those cadets happen to stumble across the station and render humanitarian aid. Maya understood immediately. Plausible deniability. Who else is on the team? 5 others, all volunteers. Jace has already agreed. We'll have 72 hours to prepare before departure. And the cubs? Thorne spoke up. According to regulations, registered support animals can accompany their handlers on approved missions. Consider this approved. Maya looked at the 6 Lyraxes, who were currently investigating Admiral Kessler's boots with intense curiosity. They're not exactly trained for combat. Then train them. Kessler said simply, "You have 3 days." The preparation was intense. Maya's team consisted of herself, Jace, Xena, Ratch, Quinn, and a newcomer named Tor, a massive Krellix whose species specialized in heavy assault. They drilled constantly, learning each other's strengths and covering weaknesses. The cubs adapted surprisingly well. Maya taught them basic commands: stay, hide, alert, and attack. The last one made Jace nervous. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" he asked, watching one cub practice pouncing on a training dummy. "They're predators. We might need that. They're also adorable. I'm having trouble reconciling those concepts." Maya smiled. Welcome to evolution. The transport ship was a compact vessel designed for speed rather than comfort. The 6 team members and 6 cubs filled the crew quarters completely, creating a chaotic mix of species that somehow worked. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler sector. The research station appeared on sensors immediately. A dark shape tumbling slowly through space. No power signature, Quinn reported from the navigation console. No emergency beacon. No life signs on standard scans. "Take us in slowly," Maya ordered. Kessler had designated her as mission lead, a decision that surprised everyone except Thorne. Assume hostile presence until proven otherwise. The docking process was tense. The station's airlock accepted their access codes, but the interior was pitch black. The team entered in tactical formation, weapon lights cutting through the darkness. Blood marked the walls. Not much, but enough to tell a story. "What the hell happened here?" Ratch muttered. They found the first body in the main laboratory. A Centauran researcher, killed by what looked like projectile weapons. 3 more bodies lay in the adjoining rooms, all displaying similar wounds. "This wasn't an accident," Xena whispered. Maya examined the corpses carefully. Kashari ammunition. These people were executed. The team exchanged glances. The Kashari weren't supposed to operate this far into neutral space. If they were here, it meant the political situation was worse than anyone realized. "We need to get the data cores," Maya said. Whatever these researchers discovered, the Kashari didn't want it leaving this station. They split up, searching different sections. Maya took Jace and 3 cubs, moving through the station's upper level. The emergency lighting flickered occasionally, creating nightmare shadows. They found the data storage room sealed behind a reinforced door. Jace worked on the lock while Maya kept watch, her weapon raised. "Got it," he said finally. The door slid open, revealing not data cores but survivors. 5 researchers huddled in the darkness, their eyes wide with terror. "Please don't shoot," one of them begged. Maya lowered her weapon. "We're here to help. What happened?" The story spilled out in fragments. The Kashari had attacked without warning, demanding research on the experimental faster-than-light drive. When the lead scientist refused to cooperate, they'd started executing people. The survivors had sealed themselves in, hoping someone would come. "We have to get them out," Jace said. Maya nodded, already calculating escape routes. But before they could move, the station's emergency systems activated. Red warning lights bathed the corridors. "Proximity alert." Quinn's voice crackled over the comm. "Multiple ships incoming." Kashari's signatures. "How long?" Maya demanded. 10 minutes. Maybe less. The team regrouped at the transport ship, now with 5 additional passengers. But the Kashari ships were faster than expected, dropping out of FTL directly above the station. "We can't outrun them," Quinn said, her feathers bristling with stress. Maya's mind raced. The transport was lightly armed, no match for Kashari warships. But running wasn't the only option. "Thor, can you rig the station's reactor to overload?" The Krellix's mandibles clicked in surprise. Yes. Do it. Set a 30-minute timer. Everyone else prepare for emergency departure. You want to blow up the station? Jace stared at her. I want the Kashari to think we blew up with the station. We'll hide in the debris field, power down completely, and drift until they leave. It was insane. It was also their only chance. Thorne worked with desperate speed, reprogramming the reactor's safety systems. The cubs sensed the tension, their ears flat against their skulls. Maya gathered them close, whispering reassurance they couldn't understand but seemed to appreciate. The Kashari ships reached weapons range. Energy blasts hammered the station's hull. The structure groaned, metal shrieking under the assault. Reactors set, Tor announced. 29 minutes. They ran. The transport launched at maximum thrust, clearing the station seconds before a Kashari missile struck the docking bay. The explosion sent debris scattering in all directions. Maya killed the engines. Everyone stay still, don't even breathe heavy. The transport drifted, indistinguishable from wreckage. Through the viewports, they watched the Kashari ships circle the dying station, scanning for survivors. One of the cubs whimpered. Maya pressed her hand over its mouth gently. Quiet. Please be quiet. The minutes stretched into eternity. The reactor's countdown appeared on Maya's datapad. 5 minutes. 4. 3. The Kashari ships moved closer to the station, apparently satisfied nothing had escaped. 2 minutes. 1 minute. The reactor detonated. The station vanished in a sphere of white fire, debris radiating outward at lethal velocity. The Kashari ships boosted away, sensors likely overwhelmed by the blast. Maya waited another 10 minutes before restarting their engines. When they finally activated faster-than-light travel, the entire crew exhaled as one. Back at Sentinel Station, Admiral Kessler reviewed their mission report in silence. The rescued researchers had been delivered safely to a secure facility. The data cores contained evidence of Kashari violations of at least 6 interstellar treaties. You did well, Kessler said finally. All of you. This operation will remain classified, but your actions likely prevented a larger conflict. The team stood at attention, exhausted but proud. Cadet Cross, Kessler continued, your tactical decisions saved lives today. How would you feel about making this a permanent arrangement? Maya glanced at her team, at Jace's encouraging smile, at the cubs sitting obediently at her feet. For the first time since Habron, she felt like she belonged somewhere. I'd be honored, ma'am. 3 months later, Maya stood in the cafeteria watching new cadets navigate their first day. The cubs, now significantly larger, lounged beneath her table. They'd become station celebrities, beloved by everyone except the maintenance crew who still found them in ventilation shafts occasionally. Krell approached, moving with considerably more caution than before. Cross, good to see you. You too. Listen, about before I was an idiot. Yeah. You were. Think we could start over? Maya considered him for a moment. Then she extended her hand. Everyone deserves a second chance. As Krell walked away, Jace slid into the seat across from her. You're getting soft. Shut up. He grinned. We've got another assignment next week. Tor says it involves a black market weapons dealer and approximately 0% chance of survival. Sounds perfect. The cubs chirped in agreement, and Maya allowed herself to smile. The galaxy was dangerous, filled with species that would gladly see humans extinct. But she'd found her place in it. She'd found her team. And when the Kashari finally learned what humanity could do when properly motivated, they were going to regret every life they'd taken on Hebron. But that was a story for another day.